What is up, my friends? Welcome to Flippin' Bats. What a show we got for you today. I'm about to get fired up about Tarik Skubal, the pitcher he is, and what was said on Sunday Night Baseball that really just grinds my gears. We're going to talk Tarik Skubal. Of course, it's Monday. We have a new and improved top 10 power rankings with a new team at the number one spot. Different conversation as well. Are the Dodgers still the best team in the National League? Not like record wise or current play wise. I mean, like overall, should the Dodgers be the favorite coming out of the National League still or not? We have a Fanduel segment at the end because, of course, Flippin' Bats is presented by Fanduel. Bet baseball with us all season long on America's number one sports book. It's engagement week, engagement party week in the life of me. Later this week, traveling to Cincinnati with Elizabeth, my fiance. We're having our engagement party there. So it's a big week, leaving late Wednesday. So I'll have Smoltz out. Going to talk to Smoltz around Wednesday. That'll be out Thursday. But big week of baseball, big week in our life with our engagement party later this week. So pumped up for that. We're 10 days away from the trade deadline. It is currently July 21st. So we're 10 days from chaos. I think about this trade deadline and I think, oh, who are the like for sure sellers at it? Like who's even selling? And I can think of like five teams. I'm like, for sure. Yes, sellers. And on those five teams, it's like, who does anybody want from those teams? And then there's a whole different conversation there because there's not many. So who are the real sellers going to be? And that's why I think these next 10 days are probably the most important days of the baseball season until October because teams are going to shape up differently. They're going to look different in 2 weeks than they do right now. But the conversation becomes who are going to be those teams that are sellers? Does a team like the Diamondbacks, who has a bunch of pieces to sell, that is still very much so in the thick of things, but like not having the best year right now, what do they do? To me, and we're going to have a huge trade deadline episode next Monday, right before the deadline, and who I think is going where and all this stuff. But I look at the state of the league and I think there are way more buyers than sellers. So if there's a team on the fringe, I think right now, look, at least test the waters of selling because you're going to get a lot more for these players because there's so many buyers out there and available. I look at the Diamondbacks. You have a Eugenio Suarez, the hottest hitter on the planet right now, well over 30 homers, and clearly there's the Yankees are involved, the Tigers are involved. There's a bunch of teams looking at him. And then if you are selling, if you're the Diamondbacks, Zach Gallen, Josh Naylor, Merrill Kelly, all of these names are potentially available. So Diamondbacks for me are huge. These next 10 days across Major League Baseball are going to be the most important days of the regular season just because of what's going to shake out. So I'm excited. Keep an eye on these teams that are on the bubble and what they do over these next few games because it's really going to shape. I've talked to GMs. It literally comes down to they give themselves like a deadline. And if they lose one particular game, it's like, all right, we're going to sell. We're okay. We're going to buy. And because of the extra wild card spots, there are so many teams in it. And that decision gets made later and later and later. Again, 10 days away from the trade deadline. We'll keep an eye on what happens there. I want to talk about Tarik Skubal. Tarik Skubal's the best pitcher in the game of baseball. I've said that time and time again. Absolutely dominating. Again, another dominant performance on Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. And he now leads Major League Baseball, all of Major League Baseball in strikeouts per 9 innings, in K per nine. And he also leads Major League Baseball in walks per 9 inning. Tarik Skubal is on pace to become the first pitcher in the history of baseball to lead in both K per nine and walks per nine over the course of a Major League Baseball season. That has never happened in history. And Tarik Skubal is on pace to potentially do that. So what I want to talk about and what really fired me up last night on Sunday Night Baseball is you have Tarik Skubal out there absolutely dominating. And I got to get something off my chest here. Tarik Skubal out there dominating for the Detroit Tigers. And for a while, all ESPN could talk about was what team Tarik Skubal is going to be pitching for in a year and a half, where he's going to go, where that big contract is going to come from. And the team has mentioned, is it going to come from the Yankees? Is it going to come from the Dodgers? Or is it going to come from the Mets? And this is what pisses me off. It's insulting, not only to Tarik Skubal, not only to the city, to the fan base, to the idea that baseball should be competitive and every team should be competitive and competing across the country, but it's insulting to the Tigers that are building something. So I just get frustrated that Tarik Skubal shouldn't be seen as just this shiny trade piece because he's going to end up elsewhere. And he could, but to have this pitcher dominating again on Sunday Night Baseball, and the conversation, instead of it being about him and about what the Detroit Tigers have done with him and are able to do because of him, the conversation is about what other team and franchise he's going to be pitching for in a year and a half. It's ridiculous. Can we shed some light on what he's currently doing and how the Detroit Tigers have put him in this position to lead the franchise, to lead the city, and they have developed him into the best arm in the game of baseball? We should be talking about what the Detroit Tigers need to do to sign this guy long-term, make him the face of the franchise for the next decade, and continue to be potentially one of the best pitchers the organization has ever seen. The writing is on the wall for him to potentially be that. He's not now. So instead of this conversation being about what team he's going to be on in a few years, I think it should be on what the Detroit Tigers need to do to wrap him up for the next decade. Have we not learned anything as ESPN? For years, it was just Yankees versus Red Sox and Dodgers. Those are the three teams that were just constantly shown. Yankees, Red Sox, Dodgers. And all of a sudden, a few weeks ago, you have the Detroit Tigers against the Minnesota Twins on Sunday Night Baseball with Tarik Skubal on the mound, and he gets the best viewership in years and years and years on ESPN. What are we learning? It doesn't need to just be about these big market teams. I get they have more money to do it, but these smaller market teams absolutely have the capability, and we don't need Tarik Skubal on the New York Yankees or on the Los Angeles Dodgers. What the game of baseball needs is Tarik Skubal as a Detroit Tiger, leading that city, continuing to be the face of the franchise. We just need to, ESPN needs to stop treating all these small market teams like just a future luxury tax filler for these coastal super teams. Or at least we need to stop acting like it's a foregone conclusion. I was so frustrated watching the game, seeing Skubal dominate for the Detroit Tigers, and the conversation just be about where he's going to be in a year and a half. You know what? Maybe he will be with the Dodgers. Maybe he will be with the Yankees, or maybe he will be with the Mets because they have the capability of spending more. Sure. But maybe he will be with the Detroit Tigers, the organization that has done everything right with him, in my opinion, getting him to this point. And yes, he's going to be worth $300-400 million as a pitcher. And we'll see if the Tigers do that. But I just don't like seeing that it's this foregone conclusion that he's going to end up on this on some super team in this massive market. It's frustrating. And I think if we've learned anything over the last few weeks, it's not those. Baseball is different than every other sport. It's not those teams that necessarily drive the ratings. Tarik Skubal was pitching on Sunday Night Baseball, and they got their best ratings in years. Baseball fans love good baseball, and they will tune in to watch good baseball. Tarik Skubal is the best baseball for a starting pitcher right now that there is, and people tuned in to watch it. So, look, I get the sentiment. I get what they're saying. I get that there's certainly a good chance that those other teams that have the bigger wallets are able to swoop in, and maybe Tarik Skubal is on that team in a few years. I just don't get the point of talking about it when we're seeing something historic on the mound right now for the Detroit Tigers. And instead of talking about what he means to the city and the team and the fan base and everything in Detroit, and how important it is for them to sign him long-term by any means necessary. Instead, the conversation goes to all these other teams and franchises. And that's frustrating for me, and it was frustrating to watch. I hope the Tigers get it done. I hope the Pirates get it done with Paul Skeens. I hope these guys that come up through a specific organization and a fan base rallies around them. I want them to stay there. We'll see what happens. The conversation was just frustrating. That's all. But Tarik Skubal is clearly the best pitcher in the game of baseball. I think right now he's throwing over 100. We all know the stuff is there. He's got the best strikeout per nine in Major League Baseball, the best walk per nine in Major League Baseball, and if that continues all year long, he will be the first pitcher in Major League Baseball history to lead the league in both. And that is insane. He's superhuman. Tarik Skubal is superhuman. And the Detroit Tigers need to get it done. It's as simple as that. They need to get it done. And that's what the conversation should be about. The Detroit Tigers need to extend Tarik Skubal by any means necessary. Not what franchise is going to come in and give Tarik Skubal the most money, and that's where he's going to be. If that happens, it happens. But that's not the conversation to have right now. The conversation is that he's in Detroit. He's changed the franchise around, could potentially be the face of the franchise for the next decade, and the Tigers need to get that done. Until that's not top of mind, until that's not happening, then these other conversations I think are irrelevant. The ball is in the Tigers' court, and the Tigers need to get it done. And that's what should be talked about. Whew. Let's talk about, there's a lot going on around the league. There's a lot of underperformance by top teams. These power rankings this week are going to look wild. But let's talk about the National League. Are the Los Angeles Dodgers still the best team in the National League? And I'm not just saying like by their current play or their, the stars they have or anything like that. I'm specifically saying, like, are they legitimately the best team in the National League? Should they be the favorite to win the National League and get to the World Series? Not the last 10 games, not what they've been doing the last month, not who's underperforming. Just are they the best team? And when I think about this, look, let's cut down on the hype a little bit with this Dodgers team. I don't think they're the best team in the National League. Sure, they're leading the NL West, and sure, they have a good record, and they're leading the division, and, they have these superstars, MVPs everywhere you look, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani. I get all that. But I look at this team, like, genuinely as a whole, and I think, I don't think they're the best team in the National League. I get all the hype. I get they're good. But right now we have underperformance across the roster. We have a bullpen that's absolutely in shambles. We have injury after injury after injury on the pitching side. Blake Snell injured. Tyler Glasnow's been injured. Evan Phillips, Bruce Dark-Gratterall, Michael Kopech, Roki Sasaki, even Yamamoto was injured this year. They've all hit the IL at some point. They've already used over 20 pitchers. It's early in the year, 30 games in, it used 20 pitchers in 30 games, something virtually unheard of that early in the season. And then the bullpen's in shambles. They ranked 16th in FIP. They ranked 24th in ERA. It's just been brutal for the Los Angeles Dodgers bullpen, the injuries that they've dealt with. They're currently on their worst stretch of baseball, and who knows how long for this Dodgers team. Just yesterday, they end up getting swept by the Brewers. They've dropped 10 of their last 12 games. They got destroyed by the Houston Astros in that series before the All-Star break. Freddie Freeman gets hit on the wrist. He's now injured. You have Mookie Betts with a 684 OPS, and the biggest talking point for Yankees fans right now has been Anthony Volpe and how poor he's been, and everybody loves to talk about the player that he's not. Well, Mookie Betts has a worse OPS right now than Anthony Volpe. Mookie Betts has an OPS of 684. So I look at this team and I see all the stars and I see the potential and I see what their rotation can be. But that was the question mark from the beginning with this Dodgers team. Okay, this could be the best rotation of all time. And I literally said this, I said this could be the best rotation of all time. But man, are there injury concerns. We know nothing about Roki Sasaki as how he's going to do in Major League Baseball. We know that Blake Snell is injury prone. We know that Tyler Glasnow is injury prone. Clayton Kershaw has been injured. So it's like what this rotation sure has the potential to be all-time great, but it also has the potential to have a series where all three of your starting pitchers are openers, and we've seen that from them. And then let's talk about if they do end up getting healthy. I wouldn't say that this team and this roster is known for firing on all cylinders in the playoffs. You have guys that underperform in the postseason. You have Mookie Betts playing shortstop, which is not his position. So, yes, again, this team is very, very talented and certainly could end up representing the National League in the World Series. But I don't personally think they're the best team in the National League. They do have the best roster in the National League, but it just feels a little off with this team. And you can say it doesn't matter. You can say it doesn't matter until October because they're going to get there and it's all about being healthy at the right time. Well, sure. 100% accurate. But from what I've seen this point, I see underperformance. I see a rotation that's not healthy. I wouldn't expect Blake Snell to just come back and all of a sudden be the best form of Blake Snell. It takes time. I wouldn't expect every single one of these guys that has been injured to come back and to, by October, be the best form of themselves. I have pitching concerns. I have obvious bullpen concerns. I have concerns with Mookie Betts. He even said, I don't know. This is the worst stretch of my life that I can't seem to get out of. Freddie Freeman's getting hurt. He's been underperforming, and now he gets hit on the wrist. Everywhere you look, it just feels like there's either injury or underperformance, and I don't think we should be sitting here right now saying the Dodgers are the clear-cut favorite to get to the World Series out of the National League. I don't think that's the case. In my opinion, they desperately need to add a pitcher or two or three if we're going into the bullpen. They need a rotation arm. They need bullpen help. And offensively, of course, they need a couple things. They need Mookie to get back to being Mookie. They need Freddie Freeman to be healthy. That was my concern with Freddie coming into the year is I don't think he's healthy. And then all of a sudden he's like going insane and hitting well over 300. And he's still dealing with multiple injuries from last year. Now he gets hit on the wrist. I have concerns with Freddie's health. I think Mookie's going to figure it out. But my point is there's just so many question marks with this team. And I think we need to stop talking about them as the clear-cut favorite to represent the National League in the World Series. Who should? Well, I'll tell you who I think the best team in the National League is right now. That's the Chicago Cubs. The Chicago Cubs are the best team in the National League. You have Pete Crow Armstrong's an absolute superstar. 25-25 before the break. Fastest Chicago Cub in history to reach the 25-25 mark in a season. You have Kyle Tucker, the perfect fit, the perfect player for the Chicago Cubs. You have him in-house now. You have Shota Imanaga leading rotation. Matthew Boyd is an all-star. But I'll tell you the big difference between the Chicago Cubs and the Los Angeles Dodgers or every other team in the National League, in my opinion, and it's the vibes. It's the heart that this team plays with. It's playing at Wrigley Field, the crowd, all of that matters. And I talk about it all the time. A team has to know how to win. And this Chicago Cubs team has figured out how to win, and it comes from different places every night. It comes from Shota Imanaga or Matthew Boyd, or it comes from Pete Crow Armstrong, Kyle Tucker, Seiya Suzuki, who leads the league in RBIs, Nico Horner, Michael Busch. The depth in this lineup, what they've gotten from Carson Kelly this year as a catcher, a guy that you didn't expect to do much. What they've gotten is just production from places they didn't expect, and then PCA to take that next step forward and become a superstar. But the vibes on this team has heart. The Chicago Cubs are legit. And playing in Wrigley Field right now means something again. The rebuild is over in Chicago. Playing baseball at Wrigley Field means something right now. And I think they're the best team in the National League. They need pitching. I think the needs are obvious at the trade deadline. We're 10 days away. It's obvious what the Cubs need to do. They need to go address their needs. But this team, I think, should be every bit in the conversation to win the National League. This team is legit. They need to go get a starting pitcher. Once Justin Steele went down, we knew that was going to be an issue. But everything else this team has. You have the stars that you knew would be good. You have the young phenoms that have taken the next step forward this year to be a superstar on the team. You have the pitching. You have pitchers that you didn't expect to be really good that did end up being really good. You have depth in the lineup. It's been the perfect storm for the Chicago Cubs this year, and now it's time to capitalize on that. Now it's time for the front office to do the right thing. Every single player on the field, the whole team has done what they need to this year to put themselves in the position that they have. Now the front office needs to reward that, look in the mirror and say, okay, you guys did the work. Now it's our time. Now we're going to supplement this team the way that needs to. Imagine the Chicago Cubs going out there and looking in the mirror and saying, you know what? We need a starting pitcher, and we're going to do that. Go get the biggest name available. Go add some depth where you need to. But the team has done what they need to do, and I think that's put themselves in a position as the best team in the National League. And I think the front office now needs to say, we are the best team in the National League. And now we've put ourselves where we believe we're going to win this division. Although the Brewers are hot on their heels, we'll talk about the Brewers in a minute. We believe we can win this division as is. But now we believe we can win the World Series. And over these next 10 days, from now until the trade deadline, now is the decision to be made. This Chicago Cubs team is talented enough to win the World Series if they go out and add correctly. The team is good enough to win the NL Central. Now the front office needs to make the team good enough to go out and win the World Series. I think they're that close. I think they're a couple pieces away, and I think in the next week plus they have the ability to make the moves that can allow the Chicago Cubs to win the World Series. We'll see if the front office does that and steps up and does the right thing. But fly the W, baby. The Chicago Cubs are the best team in the National League. Man, it is fun watching baseball at Wrigley Field right now. Flying the W, singing the song, seventh inning stretch. It's all vibes are high in Wrigley Field right now. Vibes are immaculate. Where are they in the power rankings? Well, let's talk power rankings. 10 through 1. It is Monday. I put these out on social media every Monday morning, and then I talk through them here because naturally there ends up being a lot of conversation about them. And we do have a new number 1 team at the top of the power rankings. Let's start at number 10. I'm going to go to the Seattle Mariners. Mariners are 53 and 46. They're new to the power rankings after beating the Houston Astros in a big weekend series. They're 6 and 4 in their last 10, but really big weekend series. They were playing good baseball before the All-Star break. Now the big series against the Astros afterwards. Win that series, creep back in the top 10 for me. Mariners are here at 10, back in for the new to the power rankings. At number 9, down 2 spots, the New York Mets. They're 56 and 44. They just lost their first series after the All-Star break to the Cincinnati Reds. Reds are hot too, by the way, but lost that series. Been a tough stretch for the Mets, so I knocked them down another 2 spots here to number 9. At number 8, I'm going with the New York Yankees, keeping them the same. They're 55 and 44. They did beat the Braves in the weekend series. Pretty tough before the All-Star break. I'm a little on the fence of what the New York Yankees are right now. So I'm going to keep them here the same. Good series win against an underperforming Braves team. Tough go of it before the All-Star break. Yankees stay here at number 8. At number 7, I'm going the Philadelphia Phillies, down 2 spots. They're 56 and 43. They're a half game up on the New York Mets. They just lost the series to the Los Angeles Angels after the All-Star break. First series, lose it to the Angels at home. Tough break. Slid them down 2 spots. At number 6, we're going the Toronto Blue Jays. 58 and 41, still leading the AL East. Kept them the same here at number 6. They swept the Giants coming out of the break. Really good series for them, but I did keep them here at number 6. At number 5, I'm going to go the Los Angeles Dodgers. Dodgers are down 2 spots. They're 58 and 42. They've lost 3 in a row. They've lost 10 of their last 12. They got swept in the season series by the Milwaukee Brewers. This has been the toughest stretch for the Dodgers that I can remember in years and years and years. The last few weeks have just been brutal for them. They're dealing with injuries. They're dealing with underperformance. They're really going through it right now. And I don't think they should be considered the best team in the National League at this point. The Dodgers are here at number 5, down 2 spots. At number 4, up 5 spots. The biggest mover of the week, the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers, 10 wins in a row. They are 59 and 40, tied for the best record in the National League. They swept the Dodgers in LA. They sweep the 6-game series against the Dodgers. They're now tied atop the NL Central, 10 in a row. First team. The Brewers are the first team to sweep the season series against the Los Angeles Dodgers. A season series of at least 6 or more games. First team to sweep that season series since 2006. They're now tied for the best record in the NL. The question for me becomes, what do the Brewers do? Do they actually buy? Because this team, a month ago, I would say I don't think they were going to buy. Now they've put themselves in a position where we're 10 days from the trade deadline, and they have the best record in the National League. They're tied for the best record in the National League. You just swept the season series against the juggernaut Los Angeles Dodgers. So what do you do? I don't believe in this front office. I believe in that team because from everybody that I've spoken to, and McGill at the All-Star break, I talked to him and talked about what Pat Murphy means to this team, and they all love playing for each other and the camaraderie in the locker room. I mean, I could not believe in this Milwaukee Brewers team more. But what does the front office do? I don't believe in them. I mean, a couple of years ago, we looked back and we said, oh man, this Brewers team is good. What do they do at the trade deadline to make this team better? And they traded away their closer, Josh Hader. That was the move. When have the Brewers gone out and made that like big splash and said, our team is legit? We're going to make a big splash. Not just like we're going to, okay, sure, we'll get this. I mean a big splash. Has it been since CC Sabathia? Maybe. Well, the question to me is, do they buy? And I don't believe in the front office to do it. We'll see. I think it's time. I think it's time to look in the mirror and say, let's go make a move. Let's go add a bat, let's go add an arm, and let's go get in the playoffs and do some damage. We'll see. But that's the big question for me with this Brewers team. 10 in a row, swept the season series against the Dodgers. They did that in a 2-week span, and now they're tied atop the NL Central, tied with the best record in the National League. We'll see what they do in the next 10 days. But this Brew Crew team is legit. They are firing on all cylinders, and they don't do it in your typical fashion. It doesn't matter. Pat Murphy has done more with a roster. This Brewers roster, and I don't think this is a slight to them. I actually think it's a compliment to everything that they have on the field. It's more of a slight to the front office again. But this Brewers roster should not be 59 and 40 and tied for the best record in the National League. That's all credit to the players on the field and credit to Pat Murphy for getting the absolute most out of the players that he has on his roster. Absolutely credit to the players and Pat Murphy. Now the front office needs to say, let's make this roster a little bit better and go for it. We'll see if that happens. But congrats to the Brewers on this stretch right now. Absolutely incredible. And they are the biggest mover this week in my power rankings. On to number 3, I'm going to go Houston Astros, down 1 spot. 57 and 42. They just lost a tough series to the Mariners. This could be a rough couple weeks for the Houston Astros. We'll see if they slide down this list over the next couple weeks, but they got to hold on. They're dealing with injuries. They're dealing with a lot. Jordan's like in the process of swinging again and hopefully coming back, but Isaac Paredes now goes down. He said his hamstring injury is worse than before. He's on the IL. He could miss an extended period of time. They're obviously dealing with pitching injuries. It is time right now. The Houston Astros have been on quite the stretch and have been really good, but But over the last couple of series, it's been a struggle. They need to hold on now, or over the next couple of weeks, we could see the Houston Astros slide down this list a little bit. I moved them down one spot. They're 57 and 42, still leading the division by a good bit. But they're here at number 3. At number 2, also down one spot. And for the first time in a while, out of the top spot. That is the Detroit Tigers. The Detroit Tigers are the first team in baseball to 60 wins. They do have the best record in the game of baseball at 60 and 40, but they are down one spot because they just lost the series to the Rangers. They lost 6 games in a row before Sunday. They did win on Sunday Night Baseball, but they were the coldest team in baseball for a 6-game stretch there. 6 in a row. Lost the series to the Rangers. I had to slide them out of the top spot, even though they do have the best record in baseball. But right now, they have the best record in baseball only by a half game. Look, they're still up by double digits in the AL Central. The AL Central is terrible. Tigers are going to win that division. Tigers are a great baseball team. They're just going through it right now. And I don't think they're deserving of that top spot anymore, because the top spot in my Major League Baseball power rankings for the first time ever, fly the W, baby. It's the Chicago Cubs here at 59 and 40, up 3 spots. They win the series against the Red Sox after the All-Star break. The team that was the hottest team on the planet, the Boston Red Sox, they win that series. The other teams around them dropping a little bit, not playing great baseball. I think it's the perfect time. I think it's the right move. I have the Chicago Cubs as the best team in baseball right now. They're a half game behind the best record in the game. I know they're tied the same record with the Milwaukee Brewers, and they're tied as well with the Brewers and the Cubs have the same record. They're a half game behind the Tigers, but I think it's time. I think the Cubs are the best team in baseball right now. They're playing good, so I moved them up 3 spots. Cubs are rolling. Talked about them a little bit earlier and why they are so good. But it's fun right now. Baseball is fun at Wrigley Field right now, and I have the Cubs as the best team in baseball. For the first time in the history of my power rankings, the Cubs are taking the top spot. So 10 through 1 this week. We go Mariners at 10, then Mets, Yankees, Phillies, Jays, and then the top 5. I'm going Dodgers, Brewers, Astros, Tigers, and the Cubs rounding out that top spot. Let's finish up with some FanDuel picks. Big week, big few days on FanDuel. It's the 5 days of dingers, starting the second half with 5 days of dingers, which means it's basically Dinger Tuesday every day. Every day for 5 days. It ends Tuesday. So Monday, still the case. Tuesday, still the case. 5 days of dingers, you can get 50% profit boost on anybody to hit a home run. Monday, if you're listening today, it's Monday, and our pick is going to be Aaron Judge. He's facing Kevin Gausman, who he hits 372 against. He's got 6 homers against Kevin Gausman and almost a 1,400 OPS. When it comes to baseball, when you see a guy well, you see a guy well. And you give me the best hitter in baseball, Aaron Judge, against a guy that he rakes against, and a 50% profit boost? Yes, give me that. If you're listening on Monday, 5 days of dingers, 50% profit boost on FanDuel Sportsbook for anyone to hit a homer, and our pick is going to be Aaron Judge. I like that a lot. On Tuesday, we're going to go with Jose Altuve against Eduardo Rodriguez. Jose Altuve hits 375 with an 1,100 OPS against Eduardo Rodriguez. Really good pick for me, for us there. I think 2 good names we're going with. Monday, Aaron Judge. Tuesday, Jose Altuve. Fun show. A lot going on. Look, things are going to get hot and heavy here over the next 10 days. We have the trade deadline coming up. Next Monday's show is going to be all about the trade deadline. We will know much more by that point. Next Monday is going to be the 28th. So at that point, we will be 4 days away from the trade deadline. 3 to 4 days away. So we're going to put out an episode on Monday. We're going to know more what teams are going to do what. What do the Arizona Diamondbacks do over the next 7 days will be a huge conversation. If they struggle, you got to sell. If they happen to go like 5-1 or something, well, maybe we'll see the Diamondbacks as buyers instead of sellers. And Eugenio Suarez, who's the big talking point everywhere, maybe he won't be available. We'll see. But next Monday is going to be a huge trade deadline show. We are 10 days away from the trade deadline. Please make sure you like, subscribe, wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever. That does really help. And watch us on YouTube. We just hit 56,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. I love hopping in the comments every single episode and talking to you all and having conversations there. So subscribe to our YouTube channel. It really does help. Please like the video, comment, all of that stuff really helps. And I really enjoy talking to you guys there. Follow us on all social media at Flippin' Bats Pod everywhere. Really fun show. Fun week ahead. I'm going to talk to Smoltz here in a couple days. So we have that episode before I take off for my engagement party, which is Saturday. Big engagement party this Saturday. I will be in Cincinnati for that. Could not be more excited for that. So fun week of baseball, fun week ahead, big next 10 days. The next 10 days across the league will be the biggest 10 days of the regular season because it shapes what happens in October at this point. So thank you all for watching and listening. It always means the absolute world. And remember, until next time, my friends, find your bat and flip it. Peace. Flippin' Bats is presented by Fanduel Sportsbook. Must be 21 and older and present in select states. For Kansas, an affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 and older and present in D.C. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. Or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts. Or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.